Blog Talk Radio.
All right, welcome into the Lotus Place. Today is Sunday, March the 2nd. We are already moving into March. So today, first let me say we had the news of Chokwe Lumumba passing this week, February the 25th, 2014. So we do want to send out our condolences to his friends and family and loved ones and the people of Jackson. I know that he will surely be missed. What a powerful and brilliant man to take on and champion the cause of the freedom fighters. He was a freedom fighter fighting for the freedom fighters. So we definitely want to acknowledge and celebrate his service, his time here with us. From my understanding, he laid out a plan, a blueprint for economic development, a revolutionary plan for economic development in Jackson, Mississippi. And he was inviting the world, the nation and the world, to take a look at this plan. He invited people from all around the country to come to Jackson and take part of the revolutionary changes taking place there in terms of economic development, turning the labor climate into worker-owned corporations, whereas workers were a part of owning those businesses and corporations that they're working for, co-ops. So this was an idea that I saw in, I read an article, I think it was a video also, on some workers, I want to say in Ohio somewhere. They were working for a bread factory. The bread factory just sent out pink slips. Everybody's laid off. These people took the initiative to buy that bread factory, and they all now earn $65,000 to $75,000 a year. So it's wonderful. These are some of the ideas that Chokwe Lumumba had planned to implement in Jackson, Mississippi. So we lost a great soldier. But today we are talking about Uganda and the politics of Uganda. Dr. Short is going to share some history of Uganda, and we have an awesome guest that many of you probably have heard of, Kushaba Moses. He will be joining us today, and he's from Uganda, and he's a LGBT activist. Dr. Short, are you there?
Yes. I thought we were going to do word association first.
Let's do our word association. I just wanted to let the guests know what we will talk about today as we were waiting on you.
Yes,
Hi,
I know. I'm good. You know, I was just looking because I wanted to have a good number. Because, you know, whenever you bring up Africa and you talk about same-sex stuff, all the ignorant people out there that, you know, think that the first time another person jumped the bone looking at a person of the same sex started after white folk came in 1885. And whereas that would be wishful thinking, we know it's not true because just around 1885, there's a very good example of things that happen in some cultures in Africa, and of all places that was going on, is ground zero for the faggots. Pardon me, you know, I'm just saying this whole hysteria against people who have this same gender attraction. We're not here to promote it, but we are here to say that no matter how people feel about someone else, they're human beings with human rights.
Human beings.
They're family members. They're our sisters and brothers, and killing and castrating, stoning, burning, beating, jailing never changed, helped, or made one better. In fact, some of the biggest jailing, stoning, castrating, beating, burning ones will be the biggest people in a Oprah Winfrey-sized closet, driving foolishness to cover up their stuff, you know. So that's where we stand. But ground zero of all this, we got to set up and show the people what time it is, and we're going to put all the punks in their place. It's Uganda, which has the dubious history that we can get to a little bit later. I'm going to bring it out here, and I should read some of the names and just all these people who, anyway, I'm not going to get into that. We want to do word association because this is going to be tense. There are already folk calling, complaining, and why you are trying to make everybody in Africa gay, and we're not even doing that. That's not what we're doing. But what we are saying, because we're going to really talk about Uganda, We're going to talk about issues in the country, the society, the history, the people. And by the time I get through talking to you, you'll realize that any of this stuff around the LGBTQ people, it's a raindrop and a thunderstorm in comparison to some of the problems and issues in that country. And President Museveni, shall I give him a name? Can I name him? Come on now. Can I name him? Can I give him a name?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Give him a name.
His name is Yoweri Museveni, but I want to call him You Screw Me, because he's been screwing a lot of people since he came to power. And You Screw Me, I want people in Uganda to know, we're going to call him You Irk Me, You Screw Me. Okay. You irk me, you screw me. Yeah, that's almost his name. You irk me, you screw me. You're irking me in the Congo. You're irking me in Central Africa. You're irking me with the stuff you let go on in Rwanda. You're irking me how you treat your own people. You're irking me because I have friends all over the place. Moses is a friend of mine. I happen to have some friends, and they do all kinds of stuff. I don't always agree with it, but I don't want anybody to put their hands on people. I don't want folk going to jail. You know, actually, Museveni belonged in jail for some of the stuff he's done. We're going to get into that. But because we're going hot and heavy on one of these topics, and you know how black people don't like to think, oh, African-Americans, man, you show Negroes a book, they'll jump off the World Trade Center. They'll build the World Trade Center back up and jump off of it before reading a book, just to make sure you cannot teach me. I will not think. I will not, in the information age, I will not be informed. I just want to know about sex, drugs, rock and roll, how to be a better slave. Okay, we know that's how most of our people are, right? So we're going to make this light. We're going to do some word association to break the ice so folks will laugh a little bit, because when I start bringing all these facts and figures and wars and counter wars and dictators and coups and massacres, y'all going to get all depressed. I don't want to know the truth about Africa. I just want to know if Kunta Kinte got some when he was in America, you know, our people, right? Okay, so let's do some words. Loosen this up, a little bit, and then I'm going to do this little story, and then we're going to have Moses talk, and then I'm going to come back, or let me see, how are we going to do this? Because I thought about it, we had a flow. What we can do is do a little bit. We're going to do something different. We're going to do this word association, and then we're going to have Moses. And then I'm going to do some history. We may have Moses come back. Then we're going to do Q&A, because there's a whole bunch of stuff. And, by the way, when folks come up with the Q&A, Moses is my friend. Do not disrespect guests on the show, because if you do that, I don't care if they can back up a Mack truck if somebody's rear end. I don't care. Whatever it is that you have a problem with, if you diss one of my guests, I'm gonna sell you out like Al Sharpton in a gold mine. So please, and that's really selling out, right?
We will come for you. If you come for our guests, we will come for you.
I mean, we need to understand that this brother Moses had to flee Uganda. Somebody was in his email and trying to get him killed, putting his business out everywhere, inciting all kinds of anger, and then these laws and stuff start going around, and they have a newspaper called the Red Pepper, and this paper is designed to get you killed. If they think you're gay, they'll put your name and address and tell people where to find you.
There.
Put your name and photo, probably your email too. Now that we're so media savvy and this is the interactive age, so you can get a hate kill the gay email. Come on, that's all the newspaper has to talk about, and we need to be honest. I'll tell you something. Museveni was very, very, very hard on the press. So the people, they don't always talk about what's really going on there. But you know how the press here will talk about weather and animal stories when all of our money's being stolen by people on Wall Street and they're stealing people's homes, putting people in jail, and the cops killing folks. And you never see those stories. Well, welcome to Africa. That I bet you the Ugandan press is just as weak and afraid to take on issues. But you know what? They can pick on gay folk. I'm going to just say one more thing.
Why?
And there were people who always bothered the smart kids or the gifted kids, and everybody that had anything going for them was gay. But if you were dumb probably had VD before you were 15. You had it going on. If you had a kid you couldn't take care of, you were a man. And I never liked that. Not that I'm promoting people doing things. I don't like promiscuous straight people having babies, not paying child support. Negro got like 100 kids and hasn't given one of them, a pack of annihilators in 30 years, and he's a man.
Oh.
Or a woman who screws so many dudes until, a million people playing Russian roulette, nobody would be the father because they mess around so much.
Like
they have
what's that show, Mars?
They have more sperm milkshake in them than Smoothie King because they've been with so many people. I don't like promiscuity, period. I don't like it. I'm a Christian. I like Jesus. In fact, I love Jesus. I try to be a good person. So I'm not telling people to do anything. In fact, I want to say this to y'all. A whole lot of folks who measure themselves by how many people they sleep with and how much they get, I'm not down for that either because we've got a lot of AIDS and everything killing us over here. All these kids with no fathers and the mothers don't know. I'm tired of it. So I actually would like for people to do everything in moderation and in good order because, let's be honest, we've got a lot of so-called straight people out there raping folk, beating folk, lying on folks, and what, you just get a pass because you're straight? You're supposed to be straight, so you say. So why should you get so much honor for being what you consider to be normal? And what does that give you to bother people that you don't think are normal? And then why are so many people who preach so much about how they hate all these people be the first ones trying to hit up the LGBT people when nobody's looking?
See, the first one.
I'm not trying to tell you that it's right, but I am going to tell you that they're children of God, they are brothers and sisters, and this thing in Uganda is wrong. What they have in Nigeria is wrong. And by the way, all these laws about killing and messing people up, white people made them, y'all. White people, the same ones that enslaved them and stealing all the resources, made up all these laws to pick on people. And now, forgive me, and I know this is going to be offensive to most of them, but damn it, some folk in Africa, y'all need to wake up on white people. I mean, after several hundred years, y'all should know that they ain't about much, and they certainly don't mean any good for us typically. Now, you might meet a nice one along the way. That happens. The same way I find dollars. I found $20 bills. I don't have them every day. So I don't count on when I look down on the sidewalk seeing a $20 bill. I see pennies. I might see a dime or a nickel. And most of the time, people think when they leave a dime, when they walk by a dime, they think they saw a penny. And everybody knows people don't pick up pennies because they're brown. They think it's a black person on the coin. Now, if they knew that was Lincoln and that it's a white person, more black people would pick up pennies. I believe that. Anyway, I have to keep this serious, but I'm just telling it like it is. Now, let's do some music. Amen.
All right. So we are doing word association?
Yes, we're going to do that for about 2 minutes.
Okay. Let's see. Let's go with Hurricane Katrina.
Cover up.
Ooh. Let's see. Prison.
KY Jelly.
Ooh. Okay. Let's see. Factories.
Closed. We are in America.
Walmart.
Plantation.
Oh, I always say that. Okay. Black necks.
Everywhere.
Sell out.
Preachers.
Bathhouse.
Did you say?
Bathhouse, like in a bathhouse, Chicago bathhouse.
Oh, Rahm Emanuel.
Okay.
Or I could have said condom, but anyway.
You could have said who? What?
Condom.
Okay. Let's see. How about Haiti? Haiti.
Bill Clinton.
Oh, since you said Bill Clinton, how about this? Harlem.
Wrangell.
Brooklyn.
Gentrification.
Spike Lee.
Bentley.
What?
Bentley or
okay,
played.
Okay.
He's been played. They punked him. I mean, he's gonna need some bulletproof glass. I mean, forgive me. I just have to talk about him for a minute. I can't stand black people like him who've been successful, who've done as much as they could for themselves. He had enough money at a certain point to buy up a whole bunch of brownstones himself. He's friends with Calvin Butts, and he knows those little bushy Negroes in Harlem have worked with white people to take all the property from black people. I mean, so now he's upset because it's on the block he lives on. You know what? They're going to spray paint his glasses. You know, white folk have been good to him. He hasn't said or done that much. And the way that he spent most of his movie on Malcolm X dealing with him being a thug, I mean, shoot, that's one of the greatest insults to our people that movie that he made. So, you know, a lot of people call him spookly, but that's another discussion.
Spookly. All right now.
I think
how about this?
Got some more. You got some more. I'm ready.
Okay, I have one more for you. I have two more actually. Florida.
Lawless.
How about this? Hillary.
Carpet fresh.
All right, I think we'll close that that little session up on that.
Here. So can you introduce our guest and just have him share his story? Is he there, Brother Moses, Kushaba Moses Mwereko? Even sounds like Waco. Man, sounds like that place where Clinton's had all the children killed, and a bunch of them were black too. They don't show you the black folks. We never count. You know what? If if the devil was black, white people would start following Jesus.
Oh my goodness. We're still waiting on Moses to call in. So why don't we just talk about this news story? The news story with the British
you do that and let me go. You do that and let me go get him. I'll be right back.
Okay, great. As a matter of fact, let's do this while you're doing that. Brother Canty, I am coming to you. I want you on the line while I talk about this news story. Brother Canty, are you there?
I'm here. Good evening, my dear sister.
Good evening, my dear brother. How are you?
I'm fine. Dr. Short just went away for a few minutes, but good evening to you, Dr. Short. Yes. I hope that you guys understand that we're having another expose on how white supremacy mistreat disobey the law and try to punish black people who they consider a target for being too uppity. Reginald, Felton, player for the New York Knicks, his wife.
Brother Kent, I'm hearing some feedback. It sounds like maybe your TV or something.
Okay. Hold on. I'm sorry. Go ahead, turn it down. With our lawyer, gave the lawyer the pistol.
Okay, Brother Kent, I'm just going to mute you just for let's turn the TV down because we can hardly hear you at all. This story is about a gay British man deported from Uganda, and he's urging the government to help him and his partner. Now, the thing about this story is, so this British guy. His name is Randall. He's apparently like was a computer analyst. He was married. His wife died from, I believe, cervical cancer. And he apparently met this Ugandan gay guy.
But he's using my home phone.
No problem.
You're there?
Hello?
Yes, Moses.
Yes, please.
Pardon me?
Yes, this is Moses.
Oh, okay. Moses is on?
Yes, but you can finish your story. We're here.
Oh, okay.
Hello, Moses. Greetings. Thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome.
And we look forward to hearing some updates and tell us about your life as well. But I just want to actually go over this story. You've probably heard the story about the gentleman named Bernard Randall, the British man deported from Uganda. His laptop was stolen, and so some of his sex tapes were sex videos or whatever. Video of him having sex with someone, I believe, in Morocco. So he and his partner have been outed as a result of his laptop being stolen. And the Red Pepper paper publishes people who are being accused of fingered as being homosexual. So we were just talking about this story. We're talking about how Uganda has become a very unsafe for gay people. So we just want to welcome you in to tell us about your story. I know that you spent most of your childhood in boarding school, but you are an LGBTQ activist. I watched your video, and I found it very, very, very poignant and touching. You say the fight is about liberty, equality, and justice, and
right.
a voice for the voiceless of the people in Uganda who are gay. And you're asking that the world come out and fight and join in the fight to decriminalize homosexuality. So let's welcome in our guest, Kushaba Moses. Welcome in.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you. So,
yeah.
How did you start your activism? Tell us about your life and your activism.
Say again?
Tell us about your life and your activism and the fight in Uganda to decriminalize homosexuality.
I'll just talk a little bit about how it was before. I remember, growing up, people never used to talk about homosexuality. It used to surface at school because we have all these single-sex schools, and definitely it happened there. And whenever, boys or girls would be caught, they would be expelled from school. But then it would just stay there. People never used to talk about it. But as time went by, just a few years ago, these evangelicals from here went there and tried to talk to the members of parliament, and that's when the whole situation went bizarre. But I can tell you that this is not what it is, that people think it is a white person's thing, that people are gay because they have been influenced by white people. I never grew around, white people. I grew up around black people, my own people. So people coming out and saying this is a land thing and it has been imported from these Western countries is really not true, because I did not grow up with white people. So, I just want to demystify that. So things have become, I don't know, so bad right now as we speak. Just a day after the signing of that bill, there were 3 gay people that were found in their house, and actually one of them was beaten to death. The rest were taken to the hospital. But, of course, the gay community didn't want to have these, the news go out. They called me and told me what was going on the ground, and I was like, wow, it's not even a day after the signing of the bill. So those are some of the things we are yet to see happen in this country. The biggest problem is going to be that mob justice is going to be, escalated, and the biggest issue is going to be when these gay people are probably caught and taken to detention centers. They have no access to bail. They are not allowed to be bailed, so they will definitely end up in jail and stay there. So it is really a big challenge right now for those people who are there. Yes.
And so I think it's Dr. Short.
Yes.
Did you want to respond?
I was going to ask Moses, no, not to respond, but to move this along, because you have this Bible. So I was thinking to move this is to do interviews, is to put questions. I will ask a few, and then you should ask a few. Moses, how many sisters and brothers do you have? Can you tell us about your family life, and in particular, your father, your mother? Give us something about your early years growing up in, southwest Uganda.
I have 3 sisters, and we are 3 boys, and I happen to be the firstborn. My parents passed when I was 12 and 13 because of HIV/AIDS during the early 1990s when HIV/AIDS was really rampant in the country. People knew of my sexuality when I was still young, like 10 years, 9 years, because I grew up in boarding school. Yeah, all my family, my siblings, we all grew up in boarding school. And they found out at school, and they called my dad. My dad punished me. We were humiliated before all these our friends and our classmates at school, but they never expelled me. But my dad, when he came over at school, he punished me, and then I went home, and he was like, Moses, you can never do this. And I can really understand the reason, because he was like, okay, we cannot even say this outside of our home, because he never wanted to be looked at as a person who wasn't a good parent. And I think it was like a humiliation for the family. But it stayed there until they all passed without anybody saying anything outside our family. So my sexuality was only known at home and at school. So basically my extended family didn't know anything about my sexuality. But then, of course, as I grew up, I turned 18, I turned 20, I turned 25, and there was no sign of marriage. There was nothing. And because I was the head of the family, they expected much out of me. And they were like, no, you have to bring someone at home so that you can have kids and keep up with the name of your dad. And I was like, I'm not ready. So I'm not ready was like a song I would tell my aunties, I'm not ready. And then in the end, this time I was at university, and that's when they found out that I was gay, and I was reported to the school administration. I was summoned to the disciplinary committee. I was told I had to go through counseling and all that, and then I had to leave. That's how I ended up leaving the country in the end. And then I had to get married in order to show people that I wasn't gay, just to prove to them that I wasn't gay. And so now, here I am. I have this woman, and we have 2 kids, surprisingly. But it's not been an easy journey, to live.
Can I ask you a question again? I just want, for clarity's sake.
Yes.
So, were there any other people like yourself in Uganda that you knew as a kid in school? Did anyone else, or was this just you?
And you can't be yourself. We were a bunch of people. I used to have a boyfriend. Yes.
Was he white? Was he white?
No.
Okay, well, your teachers...
No, I never went to school. I never went to school in white.
No one white, no missionaries, nobody from America came.
No one.
A book on dildos inside of me and all sex. None of this. Nobody that you're aware of, white, came and told you to think or want any of this, as far as you know.
We never had any white person. All throughout from my elementary school up to university.
What about your books or the television or the radio? Did anything from the United States or England or France influence any of what you feel? Now tell them.
No. Let me tell you what happened. First of all, any news related to homosexuality would never be shown on television back home, and it's only until 2009 when all this started coming out that the president started coming back home and telling people what he found in the Western countries. Because I remember one day he came back and he was like, "Oh, can you imagine? I was at this summit. I think it was in Europe." And then all these gay people were there protesting. And so he was like, can you imagine these people are there protesting because they want rights? And he was like, rights for what? This is a disgrace. So that's when he started talking about what European countries, the European countries' views on homosexuality, and that there were all these people protesting that they wanted rights. So people never used to know what was going on.
Okay. Now, let me share some information with people listening, because there are those people who are going to swear up and down that, one, we put you up to telling this. Which I didn't put this up. I don't make people say things. I'm not that interested. But, the myth. Have you heard this myth that homosexuality comes exclusively from white people? Have you heard this since you've been in the United States?
That's what.
Or have you heard that homosexuality does not exist in Africa? It was never there.
No, I have not heard anybody say, because first of all, most of the gay people who are here have never even gone to Africa, so they don't even know what happens there. They only know what happens here. So that means that because they have not gone there, there is no way they have exported it. Just a few people. So if a person is gay in Africa, he's gay because he's gay, and he's born with it. So Well, people really talk. You will find these conservative people who have their own views on these issues. These are contentious issues. So you have people who have their own beliefs, and that's fine. People should have their own beliefs. But I think we just need to be open, open-minded, to have, to receive other people's views and opinions, because sometimes if we don't do that, then we stop ourselves from learning, and then we end up, causing all these problems that, are really happening.
I wanted to bring up a piece of history. I know that you're familiar with the Christian Martyr University of Uganda, and I'm certain that you're aware of the Christian Martyrs of Uganda that the university is named for. But I'm certain many of the people that are going to listen to this program are completely unfamiliar with the Ugandan king Mwanga II. I think you're familiar with him.
I know.
The Kabaka, yes. And many of the people, these cultural nationalist people, who I love the fact that they love Africa, but you've got to love Africa in truth, not in lies. Their lie or rumor or doctrine says that homosexual, gay, whatever activity in Africa is linked to solely the presence of white people in Africa, all right, without recognizing that the white people that evolved over time originally came out of Africa, but, they're going to throw the DNA and all that stuff out. First, the black people are the first people until it comes to something like this, then black folks had nothing to do with it. And I'm so proud of being who and what I am. I can deal with the fact that there are people who have issues in our community, but not everybody's like that. Now, you know that the Berlin West Africa Conference took place in 1885 to talk about how the Europeans were going to cut up Africa, and then they had the Brussels Conference of 1886 to make certain that Africans weren't sold weapons so they could kill white people in proportionate numbers that white folks may not want to be in Africa. That's 1885, 1886, those 2 years. Now, you and I both know from just a little bit of research that the largest ethnic group within what's called Uganda, which we all need to understand is a colonial creation because there are many, many, many types of people. By the way, you're not Ugandan. You're which group again? You're Banyoro. Which group are you in?
No, I'm from Ankore, so I'm a Munyankore. From the Bantu ethnic group, yeah. Yeah,
so, and they're different groups. Lango, Kakwa, Koranja. I mean, I could go on and on. I'm not going to do that. But the largest group, about somewhere between 70 and 20% of the larger country called Uganda, is named for the Bugandan or kingdom or the Muganda people. And they had a king who came to power in 1884, the year before the Berlin Conference, and he was homosexual. Am I correct?
I do not want to say that, but he had...
Bisexual?
One can argue from that perspective because he used to have gay people around him. And
more than just around him. These are people
in his palace, he had gay people because he believed in the fact that these people used to see both sides of the world. So he used to keep them. He used to have them in his palace. So I am not going to say that he was, but he used to keep them around with him all the time in his palace. And no one ever said anything about it.
Okay. Nobody said anything about a king that had a house full of openly homosexual concubine, whatever you want to call it, courtesans. Now, you're being nice because I guess you want to go back home. But there's a different history. And the history that they have for the Christian martyrs is that the king or the Kabaka tended to have sex with the prettiest boys in the kingdom that he wanted. Okay, I know you're going to make it nice. I'm going to come raw. and when these boys became Christian, they would not give him any. And
right.
He had 45 men and boys killed, a minimum of 45.
Yeah, they killed them. Yeah.
They now let me read some of these, and this is why I'm very concerned. You start off with what Western people know about Uganda. Starts off with a massacre around sexuality for people who will not have same-sex relations with someone in government. And now, look, now you have people in government. By the way, I think you saw the report that Museveni's daughter came out and said that she was a lesbian and proud just yesterday, and she was snatched off the radio. They don't know where she is as I'm speaking to you. I was so unsurprised when this happened. I think I haven't shared with you, Moses. I felt there was one in his family close in. Just wait, gonna come out, and I'll be there to see that there's got to be a way to deal with this versus brutalizing folks. Now, let me just give some names. There's a guy named Kakumba. He was chopped up and burned on January 31st, 1885. A guy named Rugarama.
Yeah.
He was chopped up and set on fire January 31st, 1885. Sesawanga, January 31st, 1885, dismembered and burned. And we can go, in fact, Ankoli, is he one of your people? Is that from your ethnic group?
Yeah, it's from my ethnic group.
One of your people that happened this over 100 years ago got, because he wouldn't put out. And I can go, let me see if there's anybody else. Yes, I thought that's your group, your ethnic group, because, when you talk about Africa, all the people are not the same just because they're black. They're all kinds. Now, the first one was Bugandan, and Sisawanga was Bugandan, and Yusuf Mukasa, who was beheaded and burned, was Buganda. There is also Mukasa Musa, who was speared to death. Kagwa, who was beheaded. Ponciano, beheaded and dismembered. Dennis, beheaded. Antonisio, dismembered. Garzanga, beheaded. Iria, castrated. Mudu Aguma, castrated. Mulumba, dismembered. Daudi, castrated. Kabuka, castrated. Nawa, speared and ravaged by wild dogs. Katugu, castrated. Mwanga, castrated. Karoli, burned. Luka, burned. Yakubo, burned. Diavira, burned. Ambrosio, burned. Anatoli, burned. And then, I'm not going to do it for 45, and this isn't a complete list.
Yeah.
And this is the power of the state saying, if I don't get up in there, you're going to burn. If you choose Jesus, I'm going to fry you. But if you grab your ankles, you'll be okay. Now, one extreme or the other disgusts me. I don't think that these young men should have been killed because they wouldn't grab their ankles. And I don't think that people that do grab their ankles now should be killed either. There's got to be something else other than to kill or not to kill. I mean, this is sick. And here's a disgusting thing that the people listening need to understand. The white people, the English, and I can't stand them 99.9% of the time, stop the killing of the people who wouldn't put out for the Kabaka. In this instance, the white folk were cock-blocking the Kabaka. So for all the ignorant cultural nationalists out there who want to pretend that somehow white folk just came over, just made everybody go sissy, the minute their shoe touched the shore of Africa, explain this to me. A completely autochthonous, indigenous African kingdom where the king basically, you know, he had what the B-52s, a love shack, a homoerotic love shack, and that was the way it was before white folks got in. Now, I want somebody black and stupid to call up and try to dismiss these 45 people's lives who said they wouldn't do it, to then tell them it wasn't there, but what did they kill them for if it wasn't? That's further for listeners who want to be silly and in denial, and I'm going to crush you, because this is a fact of history. And I'm not trying to shoot. When I found this out, this freaked me out, because I've met some mean homophobic Ugandan people. I try to figure out why they're such idiots about this stuff. And then I learned about this. They're trying to, like, play catch-up. You know, if you have a brother or sister that's in the drugs, whatever, you're shamed. You overdo it. So, you know, maybe. Anyway, Moses, tell us some more. Your father died from AIDS. What about your mother? What happened once your father passed?
Of course, when my dad passed, he passed when I was finishing my elementary school, and then I was supposed to go to an all-male school for junior school, and my mom was like, no, you can never do that. You are not going to an all-male school. You are going to go to a mixed-sex school. So she had to take me to a school that was nearby. But, she did not live long after, 2 years. 3 years, she also passed.
So you had to take care of
my mom was loving. I mean, both of my parents really loved me to death. They just wanted to save their names by the name of the family, but they really loved me unconditionally.
Mm-hmm. And you had to raise your 5 sisters and brothers as an AIDS orphan.
And in my family, even now, when I went back home just last month, the way my siblings really welcomed me was, just so astonishing. I mean, they really wanted to see me. They love me. This is me. This is who I am. Regardless of what I do, I am still going to be their brother. So that is a fact. So they really love me. And things are changing. To tell you the truth, things are changing. Because the more people come to this realization of, oh, my God, this is my friend and he's gay. Oh, my God, this is my brother. He's gay. Oh, my God, I grew up with this boy and he's gay. So, the more people come so close to having their own come out, that is actually changing their perspective on homosexuality. They are not going to agree with it in public, but when you are together at home, you are okay. You are cool people. Yeah. So things are going to change with time. Yeah.
Can you tell us? So you become when the AIDS epidemic was killing tens of thousands of people, were they blaming gay people in Uganda for it, or did they see it as something else there? In America, if 2 dogs were walking together and they're the same sex, people are afraid they're going to get AIDS if the dog brushed up against them.
Right. No.
Crazy here.
No, in Uganda, it was different. HIV/AIDS was it was a heterosexual thing. People never thought about gay people, like this disease is a gay person. No, that has, even up to now, people don't look at it from that perspective. No, because it is largely heterosexual people that are dying of this disease. So I cannot say my dad got it from a man. No, I cannot say my mother got it from a woman. No. No, this is, it's just a heterosexual thing in Africa. Yeah.
All right. That's now. So you become an AIDS activist, and then you go to school. Can you just quickly say a little bit about trying to educate people and then go back to school? And I just want to bring you all the way up until you come here, and then from that, we'll deal with your encounter with Obama, and then this law, and then what's happening now. And if you have things there, we can take some questions. I want to do the other half of the show. I want to talk about Uganda and talk about Museveni because, people, a lot of us, we don't hear that well, and we find it very easy to say, in this instance, in Uganda, I have never, as a person, ever gotten too deeply involved in anything around human rights for sexuality because that's never been a big priority for me. However, the situation I saw there is so ridiculous, and I had to say, I got to say no to this one. It's just one that's not, and I like people better understand why I would say there's so many more critical things that need to happen in Uganda that this, to me, is like, a waste of time. But we'll get into that. But tell us, what was it like? Your parents are gone. You've got to raise 5 sisters and brothers yourself. You've got to find a way to get back into school. Can you do that and bring us up to about 2009 quickly?
Yeah. So my parents passed. I was so bitter. I was so sad seeing my parents pass because towards the end of the 1980s and beginning of 1990s, many people were dying, and so the government decided, in order to reduce the spread of HIV, it was to start from schools. If children at school got this information, they would again take it home to their parents, and then that would, first of all, reduce the spread with the young generation, and then just go ahead and help their parents. So I was so sad because I was so much involved in this education campaign at school. And so when my parents passed, caught the disease and passed, I was terrified. I was like, why me? Why this happened to me? All this effort I have been putting in this campaign. But then I felt, okay, I need to do this. I need to continue doing this and letting people know about my situation, what has happened to me, and that this is real. It can happen to everybody. And for the young generation especially to be aware of this and start preparing just in case something happens, because our parents were the ones dying. Just in case something happens, how prepared they have to be in order to cope up with the situation. So I kept on talking about my family, how my parents passed, and then our living situation, because we were there. We were rich. My dad left all these properties. But then when my mom passed, our uncles came and sold all the stuff, and we never had, got anything. And so, I again tried to educate people about, property ownership and how they need to be cognizant of the fact that when their parents pass, there is no one who is going to be there to help them. So they need to learn to take care of themselves and learn to take care of themselves. And so I kept on, doing that, and that led me to doing social work, at school. And I'm now, a social worker. when I graduated, I still continued doing the same work. I worked with HIV/AIDS organizations, raising awareness and doing campaigns so that we could prevent the spread. And actually, it worked. I did some good job. So fast forward, coming here, I get married. I did not like it. I leave school. I went to Iraq for some time, worked for the U.S. military. I returned to Uganda. I was like, I can't stay here. Then I decided to migrate here in 2009. Yeah, end of 2009.
Can you share the story of the difficulty that you had at the university where you were going to school there?
Yeah, at the university, I think I already said this, how they found out that I was gay. And first of all, I was working. I was in my guardian's office. I was on his PC, and then he was sending an email to my boyfriend. So what happened, they called me, and I did not shut down the computer. I did not close the page. So the secretary comes in and reads my information, and then she starts threatening me, to report me. So in the end, she went and reported me to the dean of students. By then, I was a student, and I was also teaching at the university. So the dean of students called me. She said, you have to confess. I was like, confess what? Yeah, you have to confess because she has the email. This is the email, and you should confess before I send your stuff or your case to the high authorities. I was like, okay, whatever you want to do, I am not confessing anything because this doesn't mean anything to me. So she did. She sent my case to the disciplinary committee, and then they started an investigation and subjected me to mandatory counseling, or else I get expelled from my job and school. So I was going to lose both ways. So yeah, that's the time I got married. I decided, okay, I need to get married. I got married, and everything died from there. Like, okay, now you're married, so that means you are not. So
that's called getting a beard here.
yeah. So I stayed with my wife. Yeah, up to now, actually, we are still married, and we have two beautiful kids. Yeah, that is how the whole thing played out. In order to save my job and save my school, I had to do that. But in the end, it did not even yield because I ended up not even completing school and leaving the job. So, yeah, I stayed there for some time, but I never even completed my stuff. So that's how I ended up leaving.
And you came
what was problematic was that the subjects I was teaching social work, and I was also teaching ethics from a Christian perspective and worldviews from a Christian perspective. So whenever we would get to this topic of ethics, talking about homosexuality and all that, I would be like, oh man, now what am I teaching? This is contrary to what I believe in. But because I was teaching, I was there for money, I had to do it. But I think, yeah, that was crazy. I still laugh about it.
Moses, I want to ask you a question. Did you say when you came over to the States that you married someone?
No.
Okay. I thought I was curious.
His wife is Ugandan.
Yeah, my wife is Ugandan.
And has two children there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so,
and he was pressured to marry.
Say again?
He was pressured to marry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course it was. Because I had to tell my guardian never wanted this to come out. Yeah, he was so scared. Because, he wanted to save his name. I wanted to save my name. I wanted to save the name of my family. So he was like, okay, here there is this girl that I know. So I was like, I can't do this. I cannot do this. He was like, you are going to do this. You are going to do this. I was like, okay, I am going to do this. Yeah.
Well, I know that happens with a lot of people here, too.
It happens. It happens all the time. Because I remember my best man used to be my boyfriend. And we used to laugh. Because he was forced to get married. He got married. And in order to survive in that environment, you have to abide by the rules of the place. Yeah.
Now, the president of Uganda is in your ethnic group. Are there groups in Uganda that are more open about this than others?
No.
So everybody's the same. Ooh, you can't get that.
No.
But are you aware of any groups that are more likely to do it than others?
No, I think all groups are the same. All groups are the same. It just depends on. It depends on the person. This is an individual thing. It is not the group, because you are not going to learn it from someone. This is an individual trait. So I can't say these people are going to have more gay people in their group than the other group. No, or this ethnic group is likely to have more gay people than the other one. No. All I can say is that you will be born with this. What you are going to do is fight it, pray it away, pray that it really goes away, because you really don't want to live with it.
Did you pray?
I did, and it never went away, unfortunately.
A little bit or a lot?
No, I did a lot. Actually, with my friends, we would sit and, in circles and sit and pray. And I was in Scripture Union. I was a very staunch Christian. My family was very Christian. Up to now, I think most of them are Christian, are still, very strong Christians. But in the end, I gave up because it wasn't making sense. We would go to Christian conferences, we would sing, and we would have night prayers all the time, but nothing happened. So in the end, I was like, I think I'm going to live with it. I'm going to deal with it. But where do I go in order to be free was always my question. Because in the end, when they find out, I am going to die. Yeah.
How many people do you think they killed there in a year over this?
I can't really, tell the number of people that really get killed. Some people kill themselves because, first of all, for instance, if they find that you're gay and you're at school, they will expel you from school. The moment your parents find out, they will not pay your school fees. They will not take you to any other school. And so, in the end, you find yourself on the street. And that's how people end up dying. People die that way. But, of course, it's never in the news because no one will say, okay, this person died because of this. being gay would kill them indirectly. It would not be like a direct causal effect of that.
Mm. Oh, that's very powerful.
Yeah, but people die. People die. Yeah.
And so you came to America. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I came to America in 2009. I was in Texas. I came because I was attending a conference in South Padre, Texas. Then I found some people to help. I remember talking to you during that time. Oh, by the way, I knew I have known you for like 7 years.
8.
Like 8 years. Yeah, so you remember I talked to you, I was in Texas. And
right.
So then I found some people to help. So while in Texas, towards the end of 2009, I received an email from someone here in D.C. asking me to come to D.C. and talk about, the anti-homosexuality bill that was being talked about in Uganda. Like, how did these people find out about me? So I agreed to come. That was in February. So I come here. They had organized a press conference at the National Press Club. So I go there. It was the National Prayer Breakfast.
Prayer breakfast, yes. Now,
yeah.
I think someone that I know, I told about you because, I was concerned. What you're talking about, this bill is to kill the gays law. They had a law where they could kill you if they convicted you 3 times. You had to get killed, and if anybody knew you, they had to go to jail and pay a fine. If I even knew that you were gay, I could go to jail for not snitching you out.
That's true. I just talked to my brother. Actually, we were just talking about it because it's crazy. He was like, Moses, you can never come back here. I'm like, why not? No, I don't want everybody to go to jail. We are all going to go to jail. I'm like, oh, man.
Your own family will go to jail if they don't denounce you to the police.
Yeah.
You know what? To me, that law is so reminiscent of the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850.
Well, remember, it's white people from America that support slavery, apartheid, genocide, and all that went over and gave Museveni and this guy named Buhari, and can I give him a name? His name is Bullshit. Between You Screw Me and Bullshit, You Screw Me, let the people pressure him, and Buhari, who wants white people to love him, has gone to the same people who've oppressed African-American people for 400 years and get advice from them on how to deal with his own people. And by the way, Moses, just to get off my chest, there's nothing African-Americans can't stand more than Africans on the continent of Africa that listen to white people like they Moses on the mountain. I mean, you want to get in trouble, listen to what they have to say. And so now, here they are making all kinds of crazy laws here, same Tea Party kind of people. Then they go over to Africa and set up another way to get people to kill each other and put Jesus' name on it. So now you know it's got to be good because Jesus is that little white guy that everybody likes.
Jesus.
Well, some of us, let's move. Mm-hmm. So back to that law. Tell us some more about that because you were facing penalties from that law. And tell us about the Red Pepper newspaper. It's sort of like the homophobic CNN or the New York Slime.
Yeah. So that's like a celebrity paper, like a Snoop. If something crazy is happening with celebrities, you definitely find it in that. So I come here, I put my story in the Metro Weekly, and all of a sudden it ended up in Uganda. My friends, the people I used to teach with at the university, are the ones who put this whole story in. They edited it and put it in that red paper.
So you're a celebrity. Now, they want you on one of those lists of people to be hurt.
Yes, initially, actually, when I was leaving, a friend of mine told me who used to work there that my name was going to be published in the paper. And I was like, no way. She was like, yes, it is. So, coming here, helped me. That's how I survived. And I was like, okay, now I'm not there. Whatever they want to do is okay. But in the end, of course, they had to publish the whole story and, calling me whatever they called me, a monster and all that. And at first, I was so mad with my friends who put me in. But then afterwards, I was like, okay, it's out there. So what? I started receiving messages and hateful messages, from friends, the people I grew up with, my family members. No one ever wanted to talk to me. I had to cut off Facebook for like 2 years. Like, never to go on Facebook and never to give anyone my phone number to call me. So I lived in that situation for like 2 years until I was okay. When I got papers, when I was granted asylum, I was like, okay, now it's okay. Whatever they want to say, I am not going to be deported because before I was in fear. I was like, okay, if something happens and I get deported, where do I go to? People will just kill me at the airport. I won't even get off the airplane. But when I was granted asylum, it was like a big sigh of relief. And I was like, okay, now I do not have to fear anybody. People can write whatever they want. People can voice their opinions. And some people, it was okay to let it out. Just to let it out to me and get, get over it. Because right now, even those people who used to hate me during that time, right now they're coming back and talking to me, and some are apologizing.
Don't give it to them.
Yeah, some people are apologizing and saying, okay, we are sorry, because what are they going to do? Nothing.
No, They want their green card. Don't give it to them. Save that for trusted friends. Now, I'm going to tell you, because people listening heard you say that they would kill you at the airport. And that sounds crazy. But in 1981, I had a Ugandan married man with his wife and children. Used to live with my family. We had 2 homes then. And he was in trouble with President Milton Obote, a Lango dictator, crazy man, killed hundreds of thousands of people. And he promised to kill Reverend Patrick Bugembe, to kill his wife, him, and his children at the airport in Entebbe when he arrived from D.C. the following day. So, yes, y'all, he's not, that's before I ever knew. I think, Moses, you were just born. But my first experience is that they do kill you. They kill people at the airport in Uganda.
They will get you. You will disappear. They are not going to. They are not going to, do mob justice right there. But you will disappear. Like they took my grandfather. I never saw my maternal grandfather.
They'll get you at the airport. Don't mess around airports in Africa. When I was at Entebbe Airport, it was frightening because I saw Last King of Scotland, and I knew about that. And there were police and folks with guns everywhere. That's on the floor where the black people were. When you got upstairs where all the white pedophiles were, there were no police. The nice area of the airports, Moses.
Of course, the nice area. That's where the VIP.
Yeah, where the white people.
The good guys go.
Oh, and there were all the white pedophiles. They were looking at African people. And someone asked me whether I'm from Africa. I just looked at them. Don't even shoot. You better offer me more than $50. Just to not get beat up. Just you could see what those people were there for. So, one of the things that makes me mad is all these countries have sex tourists come in from white countries, and they need to start putting these white folk in jail, $1 million a pop. That'd be good for their GDP. Because plenty of them over there coming there, and you could just see it. I've seen white pedophiles chasing kids in the streets of Johannesburg. I mean, so, I know what time it is. So, in fact, that's what bothers me. They're going to hunt down people in Uganda that are just ordinary Ugandans trying to hide, and yet you got a white sex tourist with a big American tourister full of porno magazines. You see it through the X-ray. What do you think they're going to do?
Oh, no, they get them. Just recently, one European guy, these guys broke into his house and found these sex tapes, and now he's in jail in Uganda.
He's deported. No, he's been deported.
Yeah, I think he's deported. So by now. So
he's trying
that's
to get
what
his boyfriend out. We got a former U.S. congressman that no good. Mel Reynolds, a so-called Rhodes Scholar. By the way, Cecil Rhodes was a homosexual who liked black guys too, except for when they wanted land and pay for their labor. He's in jail in Harare, Zimbabwe, taking naked pictures of women as well as men. And even why? That's really far out there that you go to another country. And he owes people $22,000 in U.S. money for services because they brought him people with extra long schlongs and all that kind of stuff, and people with double deck behinds for pictures. And so we know people are going to Africa because the dollar will get you further because, now the dollar's going to hell. You got to go where you can get something with it. So,
Uganda is changing. I think they will look at this law and try to change it because a few months ago they passed another law. It was called a law related to decency, with dressing. So they said a woman is not supposed to wear a short skirt. Those mini skirts that Idi Amin banned, in the 70s. So this time they also passed a law with the dress code, and they said a woman is not supposed to dress in a mini skirt. So what happens is these days, what is happening when you have a mini skirt on, men are given the authority or the power to undress you. So that is what is happening on the streets of Kampala. They are undressing women in public. So because that is happening, the members of parliament are now trying to change, to reverse the law, because this is crazy. So I think they are going to rethink through this anti-homosexuality bill, like they are trying to change the dress code, because they have put all the power in the hands of the people, and people are misusing it. People are using it to their advantage, and it's not working. It's really ugly.
Wow. Now,
yes.
Tell us about the presidential prayer breakfast in February 2010. Can you describe what you did?
Yes, so I was invited at the National Press Club for that National Prayer Breakfast to counter the family prayer breakfast that usually happens in February, where the president goes and these conservative evangelicals pray and talk about, how they have to stop the homosexual agenda. So this was a conference to really counter that prayer breakfast that usually happens every year. And I talked about my situation. I talked about what was happening in Uganda, and it was from that prayer breakfast that the president said, this bill that is being debated should not continue. He called it an odious thing, and it's going to be it's going to take back the country from the progress that it's achieved at the moment. And I think that kind of talk, that rhetoric, I think it helped for some time, but then afterwards it died. Because right now, Ugandans have these oil reserves that they think are going to make them rich. And they're drilling all this oil, and they think they will be like Libya or Nigeria. Or
who wants to be like Nigeria? Excuse me, I wouldn't use that example. I've been to where they get their oil from in Nigeria, and
no, that's what they think. They think like Ugandans think Nigerians are very rich because they have all this oil, and they think the government is sharing all the benefits from the oil with its people.
I believe that there's a big problem now with the oil findings in Uganda, that it won't be shared, and that their civil society is against the Museveni government that they believe is going to hoard all the oil. So they may bring in $2 or $3 billion a year, which is an astounding amount of money when converted into Ugandan shillings. But if almost all of it goes to just a handful of people, if it's
that's the problem. That's the biggest problem. And that's why the president wants to cling on power, because his main issue actually is to say that he wants to make sure the Ugandan country achieves its prosperity. And this prosperity is going to come from the resources that it has, and oil is one of them. So he can never leave presidency unless Uganda has achieved its full potential of being self-sufficient.
Well,
so that means he's going to stay in power forever.
He's been president 28 years.
Yeah.
Don't you think that that's enough time to get something done?
But he's getting old. I mean, he's aging.
He's not just old, as we say. He's tired.
No, he's aging.
You, Rumi, and all the others, they stay too long. They stay too long. The only one I like that's been there long is Mugabe. At least people got some of their stuff back. Museveni has given the country to Asians and to other people in a way that's not helpful. In fact, we may do another part of the show. Do we have any callers? But I did want you to quickly talk about the presidential prayer breakfast. You haven't told people what you did.
No, I did. I just...
you didn't say what. How did you address them? Were you wearing anything? It's details, my friend. What you have.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't. I didn't.
Audience, we want details. When you spoke at the presidential prayer breakfast, what and how did you do it?
Okay. Because people were worried about my safety, and because by then I did not have a green card. I did not have any asylum. So in order to protect my identity, I had to put on like a bag to cover just a mask to cover my face, and that was fine. And after some time, I was like, I don't need to do this. I need to be myself and talk to people, let people know who I am, and maybe this will help in the long run. And so finally I did. I let go of the masks and started talking to people with an open mind and not even covering my face.
But initially you had like a paper bag on, like the Unknown comic from the Uganda.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Now, you got citizenship and all these things have happened. Tell us, we now have this bill all over again. Now a different sort of bill. You said that it wouldn't be signed. This is what you told me, and I told you it was going to get signed. And everybody knows Dr. Short is more often right than he likes to be. Now we have this bill. What's the fate of people who have these attractions or issues in Uganda? Will they be jailed? Will they be killed? Will they be lynched or stoned? Will they be treated like these martyrs that I was talking about, where I'm just looking at about 35 of them that were burned, and it's 45, and that's a short list.
There are many options. You either stay in the closet or you face mob justice, or you end up in jail. The flip side is you people are not going to cover up for you, because if they do, they will end up in jail if they find out. So what is going to happen is they will let you go to jail and save their lives from going with you. Excuse me. And also they said there was this caveat in the bill saying that no newspaper is supposed to out people, gay people, but this, of course, they won a court case. I think it was last year, but won. Gay people were being outed, and so there are some people who were being killed by mob justice. So they decided to take the newspaper that was outing them to court, and they won. And there was this ruling by this judge that says that no newspaper under any circumstances is supposed to out people. And they one of the reasons was that it is for safety purposes, safety reasons. And I think that was brought from that court ruling into the law. So, yeah, there is that caveat in the law that says no newspaper or media is supposed to out, gay people, citing safety reasons.
But
where are they going to go? Yes, they will go to court. They will go to jail. They will not be given any bails. They are not allowed to have any bails. They will go to jail, serve their sentence. If you're gay and you're HIV positive, you know you are staying there the rest of your life. If you have sex with a minor, you know you're staying in jail the rest of your life. If I know you are gay and I don't report you, I will spend 7 years in jail. So, yeah, there are all those jail terms that are just listed depending on which category you belong.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is we can't get these gay people out. We can't go there and say, okay, can we get everybody? No, that cannot happen that way. But I think I just urge the international community to continue acting the way it has been doing, protesting and demonstrating and, doing all sorts of things, because the protests have kept this bill from not being turned into law for almost 4 or 5 years. So I think if we continue protesting and talking about it, something might happen.
Okay. I want to ask you one last question. I think if we've got callers, we want to take some questions. If you had to compare the people who live in fear in Uganda to here, how do you compare freedoms people have here to Uganda? And the second part of the question, do you think in this country, now that you're here, that some people who have freedom to do what they want either don't appreciate it or take it too far?
Okay, the first part of the question was the comparisons. Right now, I think comparing Uganda, the situation to this, I can't compare them in any way. Maybe the America of like 40 years ago, yes. 50 years ago, yes. But right now, people are leaving Uganda, coming here because there is this democracy. There is freedom. Here you can be yourself. Where? You can be yourself in some parts. You are not going to be yourself in all the parts of the country. There are some places where you can't just be gay and be yourself. So, but then even if you can't be yourself in some parts of this country, at least people are not going to kill you. So I think that is the comparison that I can really give. There is freedom here. People are given space to air out their views and opinions. That is not happening in Uganda, and they still have a long way to go, maybe 40 years from now. But things are going to change in the long run. The second part of the question is, what was the second part of the question?
Well, in a nutshell, do people, from your perspective, in America take for granted their freedom, and do some of them take their freedoms too far?
Yes, I think for granted. People take this freedom for granted. Some have never lived in harsh environments. They can only live in fear of coming out, and that is normal. Living in fear of coming out. But you know you are living in fear. You know your parents will probably, say bad stuff about you, or maybe not talk to you for some time. But they are not going to go to that next level of reporting you or taking you to jail. So here there is freedom. I am glad. I'm so happy that I'm here and I'm free. And I can speak right now. I'm here. I'm talking. I'm being myself. That is the freedom I am talking about. Tomorrow I can wake up and say, okay, there is a gay bar. I can go to a gay bar and be myself. There are these marches. I can go there and be myself. That is not happening in Uganda. But the bottom line is that
in Uganda, do you not?
Say again?
There are gay bars in Uganda.
Right now, they are not there. They have cracked down on all the gay bars.
So they've been closed.
Yeah, there is no more space where people can go and sit and talk. It has to be done in secrecy. Yeah, but people take freedom here for granted. That's the reality. That's the
and
reality.
You know what you just said, that is very, very real. I live right here in Houston, Texas, and there is a pretty much designated gay area called the Montrose area. And Montrose is known to be a predominantly gay-friendly area with gay-friendly restaurants and businesses.
Right.
You know, my position on this is, of course, from a human rights perspective, I feel that people who consider themselves as gay, the LGBTQ community, I believe that their human rights are being violated, and thankfully, Scotland is a place where these people can go to, and of course, you're here in the United States. I don't think that people should be persecuted, jailed, or beaten, or shamed. I don't think their names should be placed on a newspaper as if this is so detestable and horrendous. I mean, if you're gay, you're gay, whether you feel like you were born that way or you became gay through whatever. If you're gay, you're gay, and I think that your right should still be taken into consideration, and you should not be in prison, in jail. So let's take some callers. And again, I do want to thank you so much, Moses. Stay on the line with us.
You're welcome.
Yes. Let's see. Let's go to Brother Kenty. 718-709. Brother Kenty, are you there? Okay.
Next caller.
Yes. Caller from 410. Your mic is open.
Yes, good evening.
Can
you hear me?
Yes.
How you doing, Sister Tree? How you doing, Dr. Short? I tried to call both of y'all, but since I was working with my construction crew tearing down a house. One of the things I would like to say is that we have to look at the disenfranchisement of these people from a human rights perspective, and saying that irregardless of what a person's lifestyle is, they, under the Declaration of Human Rights of the United Nations, they have a life. They have a God-given right to live their lifestyle as they choose. Mm-hmm. The problem that I have is that nobody respects the human rights of African people nowhere. Now, I heard this sister say that, we have freedom in America. We are just as much, in some instances, in bondage to human rights violations as our brothers and sisters in Africa. It may not be the same type of bondage, but any time that people of European descent can use laws that's on the books that has been there in this country for 400 years and take the lives of people and have that label as justifiable, and we are faced with the same tragedies that our brothers and sisters are faced with in Africa. The difference, I think, is that in Africa, it's being done and promulgated by people who like me and you. In this country, the people that have positions with no power who look like me and you cannot even buck the system and make sure that we are treated in a fair and in a humane manner. I disagree. It may not be my choice of lifestyle, but I disagree that anybody should have the audacity or the wherewithal to be able to burn, maim, and kill people for their choice of lifestyle. And I think it's an inhumane treatment. I think it's something that we need to be taken, that we need to take a look at, because they have had gay people of European and Latino descent whose countries are not doing that to them. But my major problem is that African people or people of African descent are mistreated on every continent in the world. And even I looked at the video of the young lady from Africa and her family down in Ocean City. There's no way that a white police officer would ever take a white pregnant woman and pick her up and slam her on the ground. And she's with child. She's showing. And that kind of perturbed me when Dr. Short sent me that clip. And then I communicated with the people, and I'm willing to work with these people. We're just being mistreated all over the globe. And whatever ideologies that they use to try to justify, it's not acceptable. And these elements should be taken to the United Nations, put before the tribunal, and made it aware that we are not going to continue to suffer like this. And I don't care what a person's religious affiliation, gender, or sex is. They should not be treated as if they were inanimate objects and had no life.
Well, thank you so much, Brother Brown. I totally agree with you on that. So thanks for calling in. Did you have a response, Moses, to our caller?
Yeah, I totally agree with him. Sometimes I would say this. People from Africa, when they come here, especially when they do not have permanent residency, sometimes it's a challenge. People will treat you like that because they know you, first of all, cannot go to police, you cannot report, you cannot, unless someone really reports it, you as an individual are not going to report it because, first of all, you're scared. If, for instance, you don't have citizenship, you are not going to get that citizenship. It will take you forever to get it. So some people are just living in that kind of environment that is so scary, they have this phobia around them of, okay, police, or I'm going to get deported, they're living in that kind of environment. So sometimes it becomes a challenge. But America has its own challenges. People here have their own problems. I can't compare them to Africans, but from wherever we are, we all have issues, and I think we have to admit that human rights from all angles. A person can be homosexual, a person can be a woman, a person can be of another color or another race. All those are issues that we really need to look into when we are looking at a person. No one is supposed to discriminate against a person because of who they are, because of their color, of their skin, or because of their height, or because of their sex. So I know some countries signed the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. Other countries have never signed them. But still, even those signatories, the countries that really signed, they still violate these human rights. And it's up to us, the people, to always stand up for our rights. Because if we don't, we are going to be continue suffering in silence like we have been. Yeah. But I think the caller is really right. We are facing a lot of challenges from whatever angles and from wherever areas we are in. And something needs to be done.
Something needs to be done. Excuse me, I totally agree with you. Let's take another caller. People should not be in prison because of who they're sleeping with. That's just my position. Caller from 314, do you have a question or comment for our guest?
Well, I have quite a few questions, not questions but comments to make. And what's the gentleman that's also working you? What's his name?
Well, we only have a short time, so let me say this. Can you narrow it down to maybe one comment, one question?
Well, I agree with you. I was happy to hear Sharif in Liberia, Jonathan in Nigeria, Sata in Zambia, Jameh in Gambia when they made the statement about the homosexuality. I agree with the laws. Now I think they may be a little bit harsh, but the United States need to leave these internal cultural ways that these countries have alone. When I'm in Egypt, you go through the airport, it tells you right there on a big sign, no public affection. Although the United States gives Egypt $4 billion a year. When I'm in Ethiopia, they have the same thing. I think those are those countries' responsibility. And, the other gentleman mentioned about in Zimbabwe, and of course, Robert Mugabe has been there a long time, but we got congressman here, John Conyers, has been in power for 47 years, and Rangel has been there for over 30. But, that's just a fact. And we had a Zimbabwean performer who was talking negative against Mugabe because he had asylum here in the United States. Why don't they, if they're concerned about the gays in Uganda, just give them all asylum and let them come here and occupy and stay in Los Angeles and San Francisco and Texas? Like you say, United States, you have a right. Everyone has civil rights that should be protected. I agree. But you have a right to associate or disassociate with whomever you want. I do not want homosexuals teaching my elementary students, and I have a right, and it has been exercised, where we take them out and put them in another classroom. There was a case where we had a Nigerian teacher in St. Louis, in McKinley School, in Normandy School District, where parents took their kids, their black kids, out of his classroom because he spoke with an accent. So what is the difference? But I agree with the laws. I think that this thing about putting them to death, I think that's a little bit stringent. But where did it stop? Do you want to have transgender rights where a child can go to school in the morning and be a boy, then in the afternoon he can be a girl and go into the girls' restrooms and participate in the girls' sports? Should you have where a girl 12 years old can go get abortion pills without the parental, without the parents knowing about it? So no, I agree with Tom. I was the reason why it took him so long because he was trying to see what Western country was going to pay him the most for not signing it, and now they don't have no concern. And he went on and signed it. Now, I agree that I don't think people should be put to death unless they mess with kids. If they messing with kids, yes, they should be put to death. I think they do it in Ecuador. And Ecuador received U.S. aid. Clinton and Obama and Rice would take a carrot and dangle it in front of African leaders and say, if you don't do like we say, we're going to cut your aid. Anybody that makes those type of suggestions should also be punished.
Well, I mean, the United States just put out an article. There was an article today that stated the United States is getting ready to withhold $400 million in aid to Uganda because of the law. So,
well, they should. And Uganda should say they don't want it. Just like Moya Mbisi in Zambia wrote the book Dead Aid. It's exactly what it is. The aid that African countries have been receiving from the United States and Western powers for the last 500 years, what have you to show for it? My wife is Ghanaian. She's from the Volta region. She's Awe. And she, in their Awe, they have the same type of culture where it's anti-homosexual. I know African Americans who have developed beachfront property in Ghana, and they don't allow certain people to buy property in that area. So, I mean, that's the way. I mean, that's just the way it happens to be.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Moses.
And I would like to ask Miss Moses. Is her name Moses? Does she think that?
No, it's a
Do she think that more African Americans should come back to Ghana and Uganda and help develop the country? And maybe you can change things from that with it. Well, I'm the lady I'm talking about.
I'm the only lady on the line.
Well, the lady from Uganda.
That's the he.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I didn't know if I come out and ask. Well, does he think that more African Americans who have the capability should go to Uganda and help develop the country?
Yes. Okay.
I don't think it's about development. People can go to Uganda, like people come here and stay here and buy land and buy plots and build themselves. Yeah, that way it's okay. You can go to Uganda and be a citizen and buy property and develop yourself. You are not going to go and develop the country. You are going to develop yourself. I think that's what people do. And like you said, I really don't. I don't condone people molesting, like gay people molesting kids, or no one really condones that. And so laws have been there condoning that, whether it's from the heterosexual perspective or from whatever perspective. There is no person who has a right. Even here, you don't have a right, if you're an adult, to molest a child. So, yeah, bottom line, yeah, you go to jail or you imprisoned, and that's okay. But don't start assuming that all homosexuals are child molesters, or all these are these. I don't agree with that, and we need laws to help us not get rid of those bad people, but try to should I say, help people live together in a society. So we need the laws to help us. But I don't believe that that I don't condone that kind of behavior that you are talking about. Yeah, that's all I can say on that.
All right. Dr. Short, do you have any closing thoughts that you would like to share before we close?
Yeah, I think we'll give us about 10 minutes. One key thing that I always talk about is balance. In ancient Egypt, it was called ma'at. Oftentimes, people hear what they think they hear versus what was said. From the very beginning of this program, we weren't here to advocate anything except for you don't kill people, you don't burn people, you don't do things to people that you don't want done to you. And those who that's your problem. We like Mugabe, and we celebrated Mugabe's birthday on this program, and we'll do it again. Museveni, who claims to care, all these people coming to his defense, the president of Gambia and his mentor literally tried to have one of my teachers killed. Not that I don't like some of what he says or does, but then I have other issues. We have to be so careful that in our dislike of something that's not likable, that we don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. In particular, in the case of Uganda, which has had despotic rule and hundreds of thousands of people killed very arbitrarily and with impunity by what's now called the Ugandan People's Defense Force and the other manifestations of the military since 1962. And I would wager to say the vast majority of people that were killed were not gay or lesbian. They're just ordinary Ugandans killed because of political expediency or fights between specific groups for power. The Lango against the southern ethnic groups, the Lango and the Asholi. So people need to know more about Africa when even they have a strong opinion of something here. I think the United States is out of control. My last question to Moses was implying, and he answered yes, he felt people took it too far. There are a lot of things that we don't like, and if you listen to programs, you'll certainly hear me say what I like and don't like very clearly, emphatically. But everybody's a human being, and when someone has a concept of that people's humanity and human rights should be destroyed to buttress a point of view, whether they think that they've got it together or not, they don't. There's some traditions in Africa like twin killing, where they used to kill twins because they felt there could be no copy of anything living. Everything had to be an original. So millions of children were killed for being twins. That's an African tradition. Just because it happens in Africa, it's good. Does that mean genocide in Rwanda is good? Or Congo? Is it good just because it happens in the African continent? There's a great propensity to do good and evil wherever you find human beings. So I take great dissent with just saying, oh, Africa, good. Because some Africans dealing with Europeans allowed the Mayafa to happen. And that was good old traditional Africa with some European additives. And we got a Holocaust that Africa hasn't recovered from. And it's always interesting to meet and hear